The Yaffee Program on WVNN.
All right, I do plan on talking about Iran in the latest, because I didn't get to on the show yesterday. But I have to talk about the national debt, too. Especially since during Dale's show, when it was my hate at 8, Dale basically said he doesn't care. Now, he does. He made it pretty obvious he actually does. But the latest news this week is that the U.S. national debt now stands at $40 trillion. And I'll explain again in a moment why this does matter, why it's infuriating we can't do anything about it, apparently, and why a lot of people don't seem to care. You know, Dale was onto something. You know, he cares. People that are politically involved care. But the average American, they don't. It's not a big concern to them. Now, they'll probably answer in a poll that it's too high or something, but in terms of what's the top of their list of concerns for their lives in the country, the national debt will not be in the top 5 for most people. Even though it probably should be. So we'll discuss that in a moment. You are listening to the Yaffee Program. This is the show where you can count on the latest news, the important guests, and the best analysis, all for your morning commute. Here on News Talk 770 AM, 92.5 FM, WVNN. We have a lot to get to on the show. So we have the Alabama bullet points. That's coming up, the top stories from around the state. Yes, data centers and flock cameras are a part of the bullet points. They are still making headlines in Alabama. People are still obsessed with those two topics. So we'll get to that. At the bottom of the hour, Assistant Secretary for Elementary and Secondary Education, Kirsten Baszler, is going to join the show and talk about school choice, which, you know, I'm a big fan of, other issues when it comes to education. So we'll get to that. In the next hour, we'll speak with the legendary Will Hampson. He's the official DC insider of the show. Usually joins me on Friday, but joining me a day early. Want to ask him about these recent comments by Senator John Ossoff that went viral, and he kind of backtracked, and there's a bunch going on there. We can also talk about the national debt with Will. And we have what's trending in the next hour as well. Walker is producing today. Walker, how are you today?
Well, I'm pretty happy because I'm back on your show.
Well, good. Wow. Being a part of the Yaffee program makes you happy, is what you're saying.
Yes.
Good. That's good. It's good to know the employees are happy. Even though it's earlier. You have to be here earlier for my show. It's fine. Okay, good. Good. I'm glad we're friends. Do you have the audio ready by chance? I meant to ask that earlier.
I do.
Did I? Okay. I don't even know if we'll get to it here. I just have to ask that. I'll end the show with the Yaffee program Rewind. We always take your text messages on the Yaffee text line, 866-494-9866, 866-494-WVNN. So according to Alabama Daily News here, the national debt surpassed a record $40 trillion yesterday, a staggering milestone as defense costs, social programs like Social Security and Medicare, and interest on the deficit make up an enormous share of federal spending. So the milestone figure was recorded just 5 months after it hit $39 trillion. So we went up $1 trillion in 5 months. That's how fast it's going up. Wonderful. It reached $38 trillion 5 months before that. So we're just this is great. This is all going great. The unprecedented $40 trillion figure highlights competing administration priorities, from boosting defense spending that the U.S. relies on to carry out President Donald Trump's war, to lowering the cost of gas and groceries. Now, a White House spokesperson with the Trump administration, of course, said that they have been focused on slashing waste, fraud, and abuse in federal spending while accelerating economic growth to get America's debt-to-GDP ratio trending in the right direction. Experts say, though, that the exploding debt and the latest record milestone are already affecting Americans' pocketbooks by raising borrowing costs for things like mortgages and cars, lowering wages from businesses that have less money available to invest, and creating more expensive goods and services. The debt has exploded over several presidential administrations, obviously not just a Trump fault. The nation's lenders are spending even more money than it collects in taxes. Okay, yes. I'm reading this article. Yes, that's how it works. In recent memory, the multi-year COVID-19 pandemic shut down much of the U.S. economy, where the federal government borrowed heavily during President Trump's first term in the pandemic. And then, of course, Biden said he had to spend even more to stabilize and support recovery. They passed that American Rescue Plan Act, and then we decided those were the new levels of spending. So not only did they blow out the spending during COVID, but then they said, well, this is the new normal, all that spending. So that's how you get $1 trillion added to the debt every 5 months. But here's the thing. Why don't Americans care about it? Because they don't realize how it affects them every day. When I tell you $40 trillion, nobody can grasp that number. I mean, it's like telling you the universe is 18 billion light years wide. You know, you kind of understand that's a big number, but your mind can't grasp that. There's no real concept of how big that actually is. It's the same with the debt. It's gotten so out of control that you say $40 trillion and it just, they can't have any real concept in their head. They can't picture in their minds what that actually is, what that actually looks like. It's become an abstract thing that, yeah, we should worry about it, but how does that affect me is going to be the answer. Which also goes to why we can't solve the problem. Because what you have to do to solve the problem is cut spending. I'm sorry. That's what you have to do. We can grow our way out of it a little bit. You could say you can raise taxes, but it's so big that raising taxes, eventually you raise taxes so much that it just destroys the economy, which would just make the debt even worse. And the amount of taxes we would have to raise in order to start paying down this debt, I mean, it would just destroy the economic engine, so then we'd have to spend more government dollars. We'd have even more debt because the economy would crash. So the best thing we have to do is cut spending. That's what we have to do. And anytime you cut spending, then all of a sudden people care. They can't really understand $40 trillion in national debt, but they can understand if they're dependent on some kind of government program and that government program no longer exists, then they understand that. Now, you also have the propaganda press out there, which will make any cut a big deal. Doge. When Doge is going on under Elon Musk, I said this could be one of the more important things done in government. Not just because of cutting spending, but we could actually prioritize the true role of government. And it could have been one of the most important things, except they basically just stopped. The media, they were successful at scaring the Trump administration from doing what needed to be done. So this is where we are in $40 trillion in debt. So why should you care personally? Because that money has to come from somewhere. It isn't just an abstract thing. It's actually a reality in the economy. Inflation. Why do we have inflation? Well, we increased the money supply by 50% in the last 7 years, I think. That's why you have inflation. That's why prices are higher. We're all talking about affordability. We had a debate over the price of a burrito. That is directly related to $40 trillion in debt. And I'm noticing, because the goal of the Federal Reserve is to get inflation to about 2%. I'm noticing it's been very difficult to do that. Inflation rates are a lot better now than they were. I mean, peak under Biden was 11%. Now we're seeing above 3%. Some people blame Iran. But I think it's going to be extremely difficult in the near future to get inflation at that 2% or below. I'm not sure it's possible. I don't know if you can really do that with $40 trillion in debt. How? Because we're still having to pay the debt. And it's become a bigger part of our budget than defense spending. So in order to pay that, money's got to come from somewhere. They're inflating the currency to pay for it. Most of the problems in our country right now, many of them are cultural, but a lot of the problems, especially in the economy, are directly related to this number, $40 trillion in debt. It contributes to inflation. It screws up the marketplace when it comes to healthcare and housing and college tuition, for instance. And it is a big, fat reminder how much our central federal government controls in our lives. That money is going somewhere. It's going to some government program that is either messing with the marketplace or screwing us in some other way in our lives. It was not the main purpose of the federal government. This was not what the federal government was supposed to do. So not only is it contributing to inflation, not only is it screwing up the marketplace, not only is it a national security issue and taking up more of our budgets, but it's a giant reminder of how big our government has got. And by the way, it's also important to remind you that a lot of this just weighs down the economy. Why can't we get above like 4 or 5% economic growth a year, GDP growth? I don't know if you can with $40 trillion in debt. I don't know if you can with trillion-dollar deficits. I'm not sure it's possible. We're all hoping that AI will save us, that the economic growth from AI is going to save us all. I mean, I hope so, but that's a bet. That's a bet I would not take on a predictive market or something. I mean, it's just that's a tough bet. I think a lot of the AI stuff will come online, but I've noticed with a lot of the people that predict the future of technology, they're usually off by 10 to 20 years. So a lot of what they're saying is going to happen in 10 years probably won't happen for 20 years. We got to make it to the 20 years, and I don't know how we do it with $40 trillion in debt. And we can all just say, oh, that's just some kind of abstract thing I hear on the news. No. It is a giant reminder why you have inflation and why it's a giant reminder of how big our government has gotten. Because that money's going somewhere. It's going to a lot of places that it should not go to. And then when we actually should spend it on things, because the true role of government is to protect our liberties and our national security. And then when we talk about, hey, let's actually spend closer to 5% of GDP on defense, with all of the threats around the world, then everyone freaks out. We can't even do that. And that's the true role of government. So if you want to weigh in, you can. We have the Yaffee text line, 866-494-9866, 866-494-WVNN. It'd be interesting to get a text from someone who just says, yeah, I don't care. I don't understand it, so I don't care. It doesn't affect me. If you're one of those, tell me. Tell me on the text line, 866-494-9866. You know, I was just talking about the issue of affordability. I know prices are high, but maybe you still need a new washer. Maybe you need a new refrigerator. Maybe you need a new dishwasher. If you're worried about the price, that's why you got to contact my good friends at Jay's Appliance Outlet. They can give you a great price on all of those things. Plus 0% interest financing, flexible monthly payments designed for your budgets. And right now they have smart washers and dryers. You can discover the latest from Amana, Maytag, and Electrolux. Upgrade your laundry space with high-performance washers and dryers designed for efficiency, reliability, and everyday convenience. And you can also get it for a great price. Like I said, they have scratch and dent options as well as you can get it for an even better price. New inventory all the time. Customer service is great. Go to Jay's Appliance Outlet. They're located off 72 in Athens. Go to the website, jaysapplianceoutlet.com, jaysapplianceoutlet.com, or give them a call, dial pound 250. Say the keywords Jay's Appliance Outlet. When you do, let them know Yaffee was the one who sent you. We'll be back in a moment on the Yaffee program.
It's the Yaffee program on WVNN.
We're back here on the Yaffee program. This is News Talk 770 AM, 92.5 FM, WVNN. I am Alabama's voice of reason, Huntsville's conservative conscience. Glad you have joined the show today. In fact, let's get to those Alabama headlines right now. We have the Alabama bullet points.
Alabama bullet points. Today's headlines from around the Yellowhammer State.
How many times can I say Alabama in one sentence? We'll find out. This segment of the program brought to you by Larry's Pistol and Pawn. Number 4 today, Barry Moore wants the new I-10 bridge that they're building in Mobile to be named after Donald Trump. So the Republican nominee for the U.S. Senate has proposed naming Alabama's planned new I-10 Mobile River Bridge project the gateway to the Gulf of America, the Donald J. Trump Bridge. Now, the $3.2 billion project aimed at easing congestion is set to begin construction later this year and feature a 6-lane cable-stayed bridge opening around 2031. Now, Moore is a longtime supporter of the bridge, praised it as a game changer for Mobile and the Gulf Coast that reflects Alabama's growth, while highlighting Trump's strong ties to the state. He has discussed the idea with White House staffers and fellow members of Congress about sponsoring a naming resolution, though he has not spoken directly with Trump about it as of yet. Number 3 today, Alabama Republican Party Chairman Scott Stadhagen says potential for liberal crossover voting must be eliminated. Says it's something that you have to address. So Stadhagen has called for addressing the potential for liberal crossover voting in the state's open primaries during the next legislative session. This is following a prominent Democrat's encouragement for liberals to participate in GOP primaries. Now, speaking at a Republican Women of Madison luncheon, Stadhagen noted that the party's state executive committee unanimously supported closing primaries to protect the process of selecting Republican candidates. He referenced a late session proposal modeled on Oklahoma's system, allowing parties to decide every 2 years whether primaries are open or closed. Now, this failed to advance before adjournment and expressed optimism that related legislation, such as previously stalled House Bill 541, he says it has a strong chance of passing next year. And number 2, Lieutenant Governor candidate John Wall commented on flock cameras. I'll probably play the audio of this later. But he says those safety cameras and their mass collection of innocent citizens' information, he believes it's unconstitutional. So Republican Lieutenant Gubernatorial nominee John Wall criticized flock safety cameras on a recent radio show, arguing that automated license plate readers violate the Fourth Amendment through the mass collection of data on innocent citizens without warrants. Now, as a self-described constitutionalist, he stressed that rights come from the creator rather than government, and that people have a right to privacy in their movement and property. Wall said any desire for such surveillance should be pursued by amending the Constitution and putting the question to a public vote, rather than simply deploying the technology and collecting data without permission. I've said there could be a middle ground here on this, but it seems like they don't want a middle ground. They want them taken down. Oh, yeah, number 1 today, the other big controversial issue in Alabama. Tommy Tuberville doubles down on data centers. He says data centers are the future and will bring in tons of tax money. So U.S. Senator Tommy Tuberville, who's the Republican gubernatorial candidate, he will be our next governor, continues to strongly support data centers in Alabama, calling them the future during remarks before the ribbon-cutting ceremonies of Auburn's new Applied Research Institute laboratory, which is actually in Huntsville. He emphasized that communities need adequate power and contracts to attract them, noted Alabama currently has about 20, and said 10 more are already expected in the next 7 to 8 years to be built. He highlighted their value in generating substantial tax revenue, citing one planned $78 billion facility that could bring in $1 billion in tax revenue annually to help areas lacking other major revenue sources. And of course, this separates him from his opponent, Doug Jones, who wants a moratorium on building new data centers. So we'll see what happens there. This segment of the program brought to you by Larry's Pistol and Pawn. Maybe you're in the doghouse. Guys, you upset your wife for some reason, your girlfriend for some reason. You're like, maybe I should buy her some jewelry to make up for it. Well, if that's the case, the place to go and get it for a great price, you don't want to spend too much, go to Larry's Pistol and Pawn in Madison. Off Greenbrier Exit 3, it's next to the big rusty water tower. You'll see the best selection of jewelry in town, antique jewelry. They have more diamonds than ever, by the way, if you're wanting to get engaged maybe, or you need other maybe diamond earrings. That can always make her happy. I bought my wife diamond earrings there. So go to Larry's Pistol and Pawn in Madison. It's a 18,000 square foot facility. You can put jewelry on layaway. They have financing options as well. And did I mention that the selection is huge? It means they're going to give it to you for a great price. Trust me on that. Go to Larry's Pistol and Pawn, another location in Huntsville off North Memorial Parkway. And the website is pistolandpawn.com. That's pistolandpawn.com. When you go, let them know Yaffee was the one who sent you.
You're listening to Yaffee on WVNN.
What would you do if your online store converted 36% more shoppers? You could take 36% more vacation.
Another pina colada?
Yes, please.
Open a new retail location with 36% more square feet.
Fantastic.
Hire 36% more help.
You're hired and you're hired.
Shopify has the world's best converting checkout, up to 36% better than other e-commerce platforms. What you do with those extra sales is up to you. Switch to Shopify today at shopify.com/listen and get a $1 trial. Shopify.com/listen.
Mic Drop, hosted by former Navy SEAL Mike Ridlin.
How would you characterize your prowess?
I'd say my style is that I just kind of outwork everybody till I get there.
Because I'm not a quitter. It's just you, and that's yourself.
Whereas everything else is team-oriented.
The motivation, it was a sort of anger at myself for being weak. That ends up being the driving factor. That anger, that pride, that ego, I think it's a muscle. It gets stronger. When you take that voice seriously, you start to change your life.
Mic Drop. Follow and listen on your favorite platform.
Welcome back to the Yaffee program. We are here on News Talk 770 AM, 92.5 FM, WVNN. Don't forget, you can always listen online as well if you're not near a radio. We have the WVNN app. You can also find us on the iHeartRadio app or the TuneIn Radio app or any of your smart devices, or just go to the website, WVNN.com. So as back to school gets underway, the Trump administration is pushing the differences that parents and students can count on this season when it comes to maybe school choice and affordability in options. So to discuss that right now is the Assistant Secretary for Elementary and Secondary Education, Kirsten Baszler. Going to talk about some of these options in Alabama and other places. Kirsten, thank you so much for coming on.
Thanks for having me, Yaffee. I sure appreciate it.
So talk a little bit about what the Trump administration has done in this term when it comes to making education better.
Well, I think their parents are going to see some significant differences as they return to school this year. This is my 30-plus year in education. I spent 24 years working in a local school district, spent 13 years as an elected state superintendent before I joined the Trump administration and Secretary McMahon at the federal government. And I'll tell you, I've seen a lot of things come and go. And what I'm seeing as we return education to the states this year is going to be significantly different. From K-12 to higher ed, our education system has for too long prioritized adults and the bureaucracy that makes them feel comfortable instead of serving the students that we are created to exist, that taxpayers fund education to serve. And so when the American people reelected this administration, they reelected it with a mandate to restore excellence in every facet. So this year, states will have more freedom and families will have more choices. And most importantly, students will have greater opportunities to reach their God-given potential and become the productive, responsible citizens that the education system was intended to help them be. And so I think specifically some things that you're going to see differently are that we are reducing the federal footprint. We are reducing the federal micromanagement, red states. States now have more flexibility than ever before to invest in solutions that they know work for their students. Alabama is taking advantage a lot of those flexibilities and that opportunity. They opted into the Education Freedom Tax Credit Program, meaning that soon families in your state will be able to access K-12 scholarship opportunities like tuition, tutoring, extra tutoring, technology and other supports, buying career and technical equipment like welding equipment. Alabama has been a leader. I think the reason that states are getting back more of this responsibility and more autonomy is because they have proven that they are the leaders. Washington, D.C. is not a leader in education. Alabama, with its Numeracy Act, its reading surge, has proven that. And so those are some of the most significant things that families in Alabama should see as they're sending their children back to school this fall.
So, yeah, you talked about it a little bit there because you're with the federal government. So what specifically can the federal government do to help? You talked about actually decreasing the footprint, but is there anything else that is done to encourage, say, some of these programs?
Absolutely. We are actually taking 4 very specific steps in the Office of Elementary and Secondary Education, and they are all undergirding this idea that states should own their priorities. For too long, the federal government would take federal funding and say, this is what you must do with this money if you want this money. And we have completely flipped that on its head. We are saying, you tell us what your priorities are, and then you tell us how you're going to use that funding to support those priorities and meet the most urgent and most pressing needs in your state of Alabama. And we at the federal government have a role of making sure that that money is being spent as it should be. So there's accountability and there's transparency to families and taxpayers that it's actually making a difference. But for far too long, we have just actually asked whether the money was being spent correctly and whether requirements are met. Right now, we are working with states to say, yes, those things matter, but compliance alone doesn't tell us whether students are doing better. So there are 4 specific ways that we are taking that action. The first is with our Secretary's supplemental priority. We are actually giving, for our competitive grants, we are giving state education agencies, if they are the applicant, we are giving them competitive points, sometimes absolute priority points, that will give them an edge over maybe a higher ed system or a nonprofit that might not even be located within your state that wants to come work with your state. We are giving competitive points to state education agencies and governors who are setting their own priorities. We're actually providing a lot of flexibility in our waivers. Alabama is in conversation with us right now about a returning education to the state waiver. They are actually beginning to submit an application for an EdFlex authority, which will allow your state education agency, Superintendent Mackey and his team, to in turn provide more flexibility to local school districts, just like the federal government is providing more flexibility to Dr. Mackey and his team. We are actually creating something called the Learning Agenda, which is supporting states to build their own capacity, not waiting for the federal government to say you should be working on math, you should be working on reading. And we will actually be rolling out a playbook. The Secretary will be launching a playbook September 9th and 10th in Washington, D.C. that will help states, provide states with the framework necessary to build their own capacity to take the reins really on their own learning. And of course, there is the interagency agreements that everybody's talking about. We are reducing the duplication of red tape, and we are partnering with our federal agencies out here to send more of the money that Congress has dedicated to K-12 education back to the states. So far, we have, with the returning education of the states, $109 million has been freed up from federal red tape for states to do what they need to do across this nation. And that number is growing as more states opt in or work with us to secure a returning education of the states waiver.
I'm speaking with Assistant Secretary for Elementary and Secondary Education, Kirsten Baszler. You had mentioned school choice. I'm a big proponent of school choice. I think it's one of the best ways to give kids more opportunities. But I did want to give you an opportunity to talk about why you are a believer in more school choice options, whether it's education savings accounts or other options.
Because I think that we are a nation that is filled with children that are living in families. Their families know them so well. And children learn differently. The 30-plus years that I spent in education, I was an elementary teacher, became an elementary vice principal, worked at district leadership level, and then eventually became the state superintendent across a very diverse state. What was happening in eastern North Dakota and our rich farmland compared to western North Dakota and our rugged ranch land was very different, and students' needs and communities' needs were very different. There is not a one-size-fits-all. If there's anything that we learned from the 90s, there is not a one-size-fits-all approach. And students learn differently, and families know their students best. And so in this age where there's a lot of opportunities and a lot of different delivery models for everything that we do, from the food that we eat to the entertainment that we have, education should adjust with those times as well. Personal experience, I had 3 sons. They all learned very, very differently, and they all were very, very successful in their own way, but they're models of education. So I learned it first as a parent. I learned it second as an educator, and now I'm learning it a third time as my 3 granddaughters. My first granddaughter is headed off to her very first day of kindergarten today. And I want every family to feel empowered to ensure that they have the opportunities, and it shouldn't just be left to those families that have the means to choose those different options, to get opportunities for after-school tutoring or enrichment in a second language. Those opportunities shouldn't be just for those families of means. It has to happen for all of our children. All of those opportunities need to exist, especially if we are going to reach the fullest potential that this great country is.
Yeah, one of the issues that came up and why people have promoted school choice in the past is so you can get better academic opportunities, better academic standards in certain communities by going to, say, a private school. But it also came up during COVID that we realized a lot of the public schools in the country, they're teaching things or indoctrinating kids into things that are not aligned with their values. Is that kind of part of this as well, where a parent would maybe Christian values or whatever it could be now as an opportunity to put their kid in a different school?
Oh, certainly, yes. I think, whether it's religious or just simply morals or values or responsibilities as a citizen, families truly want that for their child as well, and they know what's best for their child. Academic outcomes are at the core of why we exist. If children are not reading and writing and doing math at acceptable grade levels, they are not going to be able to become that productive citizen that taxpayer dollars are intended to help support. And so at the core, regardless of what model of school a child is in, we must ensure that children are reading and writing and doing math on grade level every step of the way. But certainly the religious values and the moral values are also a part of this education system in this great nation. I was actually just having a conversation with a former Secretary of Education that really does he does such a great job of embedding the moral values of the Americanism and becoming a wonderful patriot American into reading and writing lessons. And I think that there's a lot of schools that do that very, very well. And to the point of indoctrination or schools in whatever model of school that may or may not be aligned with what a family believes, we have to value those families, that family input. We have to begin to view parents as partners. And I think too often, and I've seen this in all sorts of models of education, where we actually kind of Heisman Trophy our families at times where they want to be partners and we will say, no, don't. Let us be the experts. When in fact, families bring an expertise to their child's education, and so do teachers and principals and educators. We've got to stop and break down and find families should have the choice to find a model where there isn't a silo and a barrier between what happens at home and what happens at school. Families should absolutely have every opportunity to find the model that suits them and brings them in as a partner in that child's learning.
Speaking with Kirsten Baszler, she's the Assistant Secretary for Elementary and Secondary Education. If people want to find out more about some of these programs, some of these projects, how can they do that?
I would encourage everyone to follow the Department of Education on social media. I would encourage them to take a look at the website, the Department of Education's website. That is where you're going to find the truth. I will tell you that there's a lot of media spin out there. You mentioned there's a lot of horrible, horrible things that are happening in some of our schools across this nation. And that's why we believe that returning education to the states, Alabama knows what it wants in its schools, and we shouldn't be telling it. But there is also a responsibility of the federal government to ensure accountability for federal dollars, protection of rights to become involved in their child's education. And so there are terrible things that are happening that I've learned that are happening across this nation. And so really stay up to date with what's happening at the federal government. If you are hearing something that is happening in your school, go to your child's principal, their superintendent, or the headmaster, whatever it might be called in that school. Try to resolve it, but know if that resolution isn't occurring, that the federal government is here to protect your child's rights and your family's rights.
Secretary Baszler, really appreciate you coming on the show today, talking about these issues. We'll talk to you again in the future.
Thank you so much.
All right, there you go. If you want to react to any of that, you can. We have our Yaffee text line, of course, 866-494-9866, 866-494-WVNN. Want to update the latest in Iran as Trump is threatening economic D-Day against Iran. What does that mean? So I'll talk about that next here on the Yaffee program. Stay with us.
The Yaffee program.
We're back here on the Yaffee program, News Talk 770 AM, 92.5 FM, WVNN. It's a revolution in common sense. And, of course, if you ever miss any of the show live, the podcast will be up on the website at WVNN.com or subscribe anywhere you get your podcasts. So let me read Trump's latest Truth Social post when it comes to Iran. Pretty long, as you would expect. He said, "No one has given the Islamic Republic of Iran a greater opportunity to make a deal than me. Tragically for them, they have failed to take it. Therefore, today I'm announcing the most crushing economic operation ever taken against any country. This will be economic warfare and isolation on an unprecedented scale. Their navy is gone, their air force is destroyed, their military factories are now rubble, their currency is worthless, and their country is hanging on by a thread. Today, I'm also announcing that any country that allows its financial institutions, businesses, airports, or government entities to provide any type of lifeline to Iran will itself face tremendous economic consequences. Oil smuggling, swap lines, cash transfers, exchange houses, ship registries, front companies. It all needs to stop now. You know who you are. This will be an economic D-Day. And we need all of our allies to stand with the United States of America to isolate and defeat the Iran threat. These maniacs are on the ropes, and these historic measures will cripple them and their ability to project terror worldwide. Iran will never have a nuclear weapon." Now, Trump was also asked about this a couple of times yesterday. The first cut I'm going to play here, you hear some noise in the background because that's what he's looking at, construction of the ballroom and everything else. Still, I think the ballroom is cool. I've always liked the idea. People being mad at that, I really don't get it other than it's Trump. So they need to blame Trump for something. But play Trump cut 1 for me, Walker.
We have possession, complete control of the strait. I mean, outside of nuisance value, and there is nuisance value when they shoot a drone every once in a while. Over the last couple of weeks, we've had a lot of oil coming out, a lot of oil. It's not going to be perfect, but it's a lot of oil coming out. Look, it's very simple. They have to get rid of no nuclear weapons. Iran cannot have a nuclear. You know why? Because they'd use it. And we're not going to let them use it.
Now, one thing, I've been pretty critical of Trump's messaging on some of this, but one thing I have appreciated is he has focused on the fact that they just cannot have a nuclear weapon, reminding people that is the main goal here. Now, Trump had an event at the White House yesterday as well, banning a certain type of cryptocurrency from the federal government, but he also was asked about Iran, so play Trump cut 2 for me.
Well, we have things that we could sanction. We have very draconian sanctions, and we'll see what happens. Right now, the strait is open. A lot of boats are coming through. People aren't reporting that, and that may slow down a little bit at some point. But right now, a lot of boats are coming through. It'll either be extremely good and oil prices are going to drop like a rock, or we'll continue to do exactly what we're doing.
All right, there you go. So he says you have the economic warfare going on. As I said, it switched from military to economic warfare. We went from war to quasi-ceasefire to Project Freedom to Project Pause to Memorandum of Understanding. Now we're at economic D-Day. All right. I always like to play a cut from General Jack Keane of Fox News, a retired general, because he's been a really good voice of reason on this issue, and I think he still is. So go on and play the Jack Keane cut for me, Walker.
In dealing with Iran from a military perspective, I think we're very much on top of our game. But we stopped it at 38 days. We had about 14 days to go. And we got a little seduced by them because, they were talking nice, reasonable.
Right.
But that's what they've done with other administrations as well. For the life of me, I don't understand why people thought this was new. This is old tactics on their part. Hardliners in control, negotiators reasonable, trying to get concessions out of us because they're working for the hardliners. That's kind of their their pattern line. Yes. The Iranians are dead set on recovering here and rebuilding what they lost. And what they lose is going to be significant. And you know where I'm coming from. I think it's a combination of what Secretary Besson is doing, which is eye-watering work here, very good. The naval blockade, excellent, and military power, all of that coming together, and I believe we bring these guys to their knees once and for all.
I mean, I hope you're right. I hope he's right. I know I've said that a million times. I hope he's right. But it would be nice to add a little bit more military pressure here to bring them to their knees. But Trump seems to think economic pressure is going to be enough. So, like I said, say it one more time. I hope they're right. Coming up next, the legendary Will Hampson will join the show. Lots to talk about with him, including recent comments by Georgia Senator Jon Ossoff that got a lot of reaction. So we'll get to that next on the Yaffee program.
It's the Yaffee program on WVNN.
Start your day with the morning jolt of Drake Toll.
Anywhere in the country.
Your home for talking sports.
The United States hockey team has 4 teeth left. What is LeBron James' legacy? Lionel Messi. 906 career goals is stupid.
All of it.
The Knicks. The Los Angeles Lakers. Aaron Rodgers. Georgia football players. The Dolphins. The Mets. As it happened, when it happened, we'll talk all of it.
Westwood One Sports Talk. Your home for Drake Toll. Follow and listen on your favorite platform.
The Yaffee program on WVNN.
All right, moving right along here on the Yaffee program, already to the second hour of the show, Thursday edition here on News Talk 770 AM, 92.5 FM, WVNN. This is the show where you can count on the latest news, the important guests, and the best analysis, all for your morning commute. And as you know, I am Alabama's voice of reason in a world that is sometimes beyond reason. Joining me on the show right now is the legendary Will Hampson. He's the official D.C. insider of the show. Joining me a day early, of course. Will, how are you, sir?
Yaffee, doing great. Glad to be with you.
So I got to talk to you about a couple of things, but $40 trillion in debt. I had mentioned earlier that a lot of people don't seem to care because it's such a big number that the average American can't really grasp it. They can't really wrap their head around it. And they don't really think it affects them. But it does, right? It hurts the economy, it causes inflation. And to me, it's also a big sign of just how big our government has gotten. But what do you think about it?
Well, Yaffee, I think you're spot on, but I think it goes further than that, right? What are the consequences of $40 trillion in debt? And I think that's the biggest failure of some of the fiscal hawks in Congress is that they've been kicking and screaming for a long time about this, and of course they're right. But what is the difference, right? I mean, our debt has gone pretty quickly from 30 trillion to 40 trillion, and I think the average American is going, okay, what changed? What happened? You know, I agree it sounds really scary, it sounds really bad, but it really hasn't changed anything going up that much. That, I think, is the failure and why conservatives need to be a little bit better about not just debt is bad. Of course we know that, right? I mean, the average person, if you go up to them and ask them, is debt a good thing or a bad thing? Anyone with half a brain understands that debt is a really bad thing. They also understand that it is continuing to go up. We cannot control it. We cannot curb our spending. But I think we need to do a better job of laying out to the American people just what that means.
I couldn't agree more. So if you're running for office, I know you're not. Well, you work for campaigns, though. What does it mean? What do you tell them to say?
Well, I think it's one of two paths, Yaffee. Either A, it is a bankruptcy and insolvency where we can't pay our bills if our creditors come calling. Number two, which is not a good option, is that our creditors come calling, we say no, and effectively have to fight a war over whether or not we're going to repay our debts. And then number three, which I personally believe to be the most likely, is that the federal government effectively goes, okay, we're going to get out of our debts. We're going to go print a $40 trillion bill, pay off all of our debts, and go into a debilitating inflation that we're just going to pass off on the American people. None of them are good options, Yaffee, but those are very clearly not good things, right? I don't think anyone out there wants to fight a war with China because they come and say, look, guys, you owe us a lot of money, you got to pay it, and we say no. I also don't think that the American people want $40 trillion pumped into our financial institutions effectively overnight, which takes your dollar and makes it valueless. None of these are good options. And so that's what you have to fathom with is potential war, potential famine, potential of the dollar bill in your pocket being worthless, all of the money in your bank effectively being wiped out overnight because it's now valueless because we had to go out and pay off our debts. All of these things are really scary. They are not good options, and they're serious, and it will affect you. That is the question, and I think those who are smart enough to understand the threat that our debt is, understand it's not an if, it's a when. Eventually, creditors will come calling on the debt that we owe them. And look, Yaffee, here's another thing that we haven't been very smart about, but a lot of our debt is owed to places like China that hate us, right? I mean, these are not allies overwhelmingly that own our debt. These are countries that would love to see us destroyed. And so it's not like, you're in debt to your buddy or you're in debt to the bank down the street who likes you and, wants to see you succeed and wants to work with you and help you. We're in debt to some pretty serious places where they would love nothing more than to see this be the downfall of the United States of America. And I think that's a pretty scary thing when you put it into that perspective.
Well, yeah, I was going to say, that's it? Just the downfall? Or war or famine? Those are the options. I was like, oh, man, that's... yeah, we should probably do something about that. It's interesting, though. I think one of the options, too, is going to be the Democrats are going to constantly say we have to raise taxes. But, of course, raising taxes could hurt the economy, which you need a growing economy to pay the debt, too. So the real solution is to cut spending, right? But we can't just seem to get to that point.
And here's the problem, Yaffee, when Democrats come out and tell you that they want to raise taxes. Democrats don't want to raise taxes because they want to pay down the debt. Democrats want to raise taxes because they have ideas to spend more of your money. I think that's a really, really important distinction there as well, right? For this to work, and obviously we know it's a terrible idea, but hypothetically, they would have to simultaneously raise taxes on the rich significantly, effectively taking just about all of their money, and they would have to significantly cut spending. Democrats have no interest in cutting spending, and frankly, a lot of Republicans don't have interest in cutting spending because it's so politically unpopular. And this is the problem that Republicans run into, right? Democrats are like Santa, where they go, you know what, we want to take money from someone else and give it to you. You deserve more. You work really hard. You're really great. We like you. I don't know why Republicans hate you and don't want you to have, this program that gives you free whatever. Republicans have to be mom and dad where they go, no, you actually can't do that because in the long run it's not good for you. But it's easy to see why people like the Democrat version of, sure, you want this for free, we'll pay for it. Unfortunately, Yaffee, again, you have to cut spending significantly. And we have these conversations all the time in Congress, right, over the entitlement spending. But it is nuclear politically to come out and say, we're going to mess with Medicaid or Medicare. We're going to mess with Social Security. All of those things that we know are going dry. They are programs that we can't afford anymore. You can't have the conversation about how we fix that because politically it's so damaging. There are people out there, and probably rightfully so, right, Yaffee? I mean, you have people who have been promised their entire lives that if you pay into this program, you will get it one day. They deserve it. I understand why people would be upset by that. I understand why the entitlements conversation is so toxic because there are people that have paid into Social Security their whole lives. They deserve to get it. They were made a promise by their government. They deserve to see the fruits of that. But unfortunately, it can't happen. And my generation, Yaffee, I already know you and I are not getting Social Security. We're going to continue to pay into it. We're going to continue to have it taken out of our paychecks every time we get one. But I think if we're being realistic here, we understand we're never going to see a dime of any of that. It's just not plausible. And so that's the problem with a lot of the way that this is set up, is that you have to seriously cut a lot of spending, and you probably have to raise taxes on people. How do you sell that? How do you go to the American people and say, look, we're going to tax you more, give you less, shut up and take it? It's just not going to happen. It's not going to work.
Yeah, it's a really good point. I'm speaking with the legendary Will Hampson, the official DC insider of the show. You know, you were talking a little bit about how the debt problem could affect us in the future, but it's really affecting us right now. Maybe that's something that's not talked about. One of the reasons why I believe we can't get to that 2% inflation mark anymore is because of the debt. I also think it's weighing down the economy, not just the debt, but just the giant size of our federal government. We can't ever seem to grow above 3%, and I think that's a big reason why. Would you agree?
Absolutely, Yaffee. Again, if you put this into terms of you and your family, it starts to make a lot of sense, right? I mean, if you're paying off a debt that you can't afford to pay, right? I mean, let's put it in, let's say your family has to pay a $4 million debt. Your family's never going to be able to thrive. You're never going to be able to grow. We understand the economics of it at a very, very micro level. It's just when you get in terms of the government, people start to think that the math works differently, or that the rules don't apply, or that things are different, when in reality they aren't. It actually operates very similarly. And look, I used to love, Mo Brooks would break it down into per person. Every person in this country, man, woman, and child, owes a portion of our national debt. Think about the way that your family operates right now with your bills, your day-to-day life. If China comes calling and says, you guys owe us what you owe us, is your family able to take out the checkbook and write a $40,000 check per person? Most families in the United States probably aren't. All of this has real consequences. But again, Democrats have done a really good job of making our economics seem like pie in the sky. Like it's really not a big deal. And sure, $40 trillion in debt isn't good, but it really doesn't have an impact on things. And in fact, we need to double down. We're already in debt. Who cares, right? Let's buy more things we can't afford, since it really won't change anything and it really won't matter. But as we've discussed, Yaffee, it absolutely will.
The legendary Will Hampson. Will, are you able to stay with me for one more segment by chance?
Yeah, let's do it.
Good, because I want to talk to you about the Jon Ossoff stuff. Obviously, there's a lot of talk about him running for president. So he was at a rally as he's running for re-election to the Senate. Said something about a Trump staffer, got all kinds of attention. So I want to get to that in a moment. So we'll continue that conversation. Right now, though, I do have to tell you real quick, speaking of expensive, or healthcare can get expensive. It can get really complicated. And for those of you on Medicare, speaking of an entitlement, it can be hard to deal with. That's why VIP Care exists. If you are 65 years or older, their senior healthcare model and local clinics are designed for your comfort, with same-day appointments, more time with your doctor, and a team of Medicare experts. You get the care you need so you can enjoy life. So if you go to the website right now, getvipcare.com, you can click on the Find a Clinic link, and you'll see there are locations across North and Central Alabama. You can get more time with your doctor. It's data-driven care. It's tailored to you. It's community-based and convenient 24/7 support as well. GetVIPCare.com is the website. GetVIPCare.com, a better way to do healthcare for seniors. When you go, let them know Yaffee sent you. We'll be back in a moment on the Yaffee program.
You're listening to Yaffee on WVNN.
We're back on the Yaffee program. This is News Talk 770 AM 92.5 FM WVNN. Don't forget to like the Yaffee Facebook page. Follow me on X at Yaffee or Instagram at Yaffee Live. I posted, I play a lot of cuts from General Jack Keane on Fox News, and I posted a video of something he said recently about the USS Abraham Lincoln. So you can check out that video on my Facebook page. So like the Yaffee Facebook page. Continuing my conversation right now with the legendary Will Hampson, the official DC insider of the show. Well, I'm sure you've heard these comments from Jon Ossoff, who's running for re-election as senator in Georgia. A lot of talk that he could be the presidential nominee for Democrats, maybe. I know you and I have discussed that before. I want to play the cut again here, though. So real quick, Walker, if you can, play Jon Ossoff cut 1 for me.
And while the sailors on the Lincoln fight his war, while he fruitlessly drains our munitions and oil reserves, the president sleeps through his meetings. He golfs and trades stocks. See, he doesn't want to do the job. He wants to build his ballroom and travel with Natalie on their apparently defenseless flying palace gifted by the Emir of Qatar.
You can cut it off there, Walker. So it was the last part that got a lot of attention because I guess he's kind of implying that maybe Trump is having an affair with his staffer, Natalie, or something. Why mention her? So what do you think about that part of the comment? Also, in general, though, is that an effective attack line against Trump that he just doesn't want to do the job? He cares more about his ballroom than actually helping the country. What do you think?
No, Yaffee, the whole thing is laughable. I thought it was a really big cheap shot from Ossoff. And look, here's the thing. You got to understand the background of Natalie, and I don't know if people do or don't, but this is someone who had a very good relationship with the president. She had a TV show on One America's News. I knew Natalie back when she was doing TV. She was always great to work with. She's very smart. She's very generous. And then she got bone cancer, and the president greenlit her ability to get an experimental treatment that saved her life. He did that personally to help her in her fight with cancer, and she is very loyal to the president because of it. That's a great thing. Again, the president did something really nice. He saved someone's life, and in return, she has been a really, really loyal staffer to him. A great thing, really, really cool, something that should be celebrated. But instead, obviously, Ossoff knows exactly what he's doing. I thought it was a really low blow. It was a sexist thing to suggest that someone, as a female staffer who is young, pretty, all of those things, is having an affair with an 80-plus-year-old president. It's just ridiculous. I think everyone understands how ridiculous it is. But this is a guy who I think has made it very clear he is willing to do and say anything to be president. And again, the cheap shots are not surprising. All of the stuff about the military, the military is out there doing their job. This is what they signed up for. It's not always glamorous. They are out there serving our country. We should be grateful. We should be thanking them. But we should also be showing that we have their back, that we're supporting them in their endeavors to keep our country safe. Jon Ossoff is not doing that. He's trying to score cheap political points. It's really sad, but I hope people wake up and see this is the danger of Democrats these days. They are willing to do and say anything. They're willing to weaponize anything. They're willing to take anyone on. Because that's another thing, Yaffee. Generally speaking, in campaigns and political work, staffers are usually off limits. You've got kind of the tip, the Susie Wiles types, where maybe you can kind of make something about them. But generally speaking, it's kind of an unspoken rule. You don't go after young staffers because they're just doing their job. They're there to serve. They are doing what they're told. They're doing what is expected of them. You don't go after them for just doing their job. That's a generally understood thing on both sides. I think it's really, really telling. Jon Ossoff is absolutely using his current United States Senate run to run for president. But B, Democrats have shown that they are willing to say anything that they have to do to win elections, whether that be smearing good people, whether that mean all of these low blows, whether it mean trying to steal elections if they have to. Whatever they have to do, they are willing to do it. And I think Republicans need to really, really wake up. if you look at this and you don't think, gosh, we got to kind of start fighting fire with fire because these guys are in it to win it. We're in it to kind of be nice sometimes. We worry about other people's feelings. We don't want to be mean. Well, John Ossoff has very clearly shown what it takes to win and what he's willing to do. And I think that Republicans really need to take this as a serious warning sign.
Got about a minute here, but I do find it interesting, though. I'm not sure it worked. He can't really pull that off, can he? It's like they try to be like Trump. Trump kind of does that stuff, but there's only one Trump, right? It's really hard. I mean, when you have a John Ossoff out there trying to do those cheap shots and he gets called out for it, it doesn't really work. Or maybe it does. What do you think?
You heard the reaction of the crowd, Yaffee. They were pretty fired up about it. I think Democrats hate Donald Trump more than anything. They hate Donald Trump more than they love their country. They hate Donald Trump more than they like the well-being of young people in this country. Pick anything, and I think Democrats are very willing to get on board with just about anything if it means that they keep political power.
The legendary Will Hampson, the official D.C. insider of the show. Appreciate you coming on, sir. I know we'll talk to you again in the future.
Pleasure as always, Yaffee. We'll talk to you soon.
All right. By the way, Scott Jennings had a good line. I don't have time to play the audio, but he had a good line. Just imagine doing that to John Ossoff if Scott just went up and named every girl staffer that he's ever had. There's a reason why you usually don't do that. Usually don't go after the staffers. But look, the response from Democrats are going to be, yeah, but Trump says a lot of bad things too. And, there's some truth to that, honestly. It's just kind of weird because I just don't think John Ossoff, I don't know. There's talk about him being president, running for president, doing well. I think some of that's overblown. I don't think he has the charisma that a lot of people believe. I'm still more worried about an AOC being the nominee, to be honest with you. All right, gonna move on to What's Trending. Coming up next, the Yaffee program rewind at the end of the show as well. Back in just a sec.
Yaffee program.
The U.S. Soccer Podcast. I'm your host, Megan Klingenberg, and after interviewing so many dudes during this Men's World Cup, I'm so happy to be back with my U.S. Women's National Team players.
I know the U.S. Men's National Team has changed how I think about myself, how I think about being an American, how I think about being on a team.
It's 1 year out from that World Cup, and we're going to talk about the brightest prospects in U.S. soccer. You ready?
I'm ready. Let's do it.
The U.S. Soccer Podcast, presented by Henkel. Follow and listen on your favorite platform.
Good to be back with you here on the Yaffee program. It's Thursday, Friday Eve. News Talk 770 AM, 92.5 FM, WVNN. Walker is here as well, so you know what that means. Once again, it's time for What's Trending with Walker.
Keeping you up to date with all that's trending in your world.
Oh, they have the internet on computers now.
You guys know how to post videos to Facebook?
It's What's Trending.
Brought to you by Coleman Furniture Market, located in the heart of Coleman, Alabama. Their big Labor Day sale is going on right now, so you can check that out at Coleman Furniture Market. Now, they're located at 1807 2nd Avenue Southwest in Coleman, Alabama. You can always find out more information on the website, ColemanFurnitureMarket.com. And, of course, they have their Facebook page as well. And right now, for a limited time, you can save up to $900 on select Stearns & Foster adjustable mattress sets and bring home the comfort you deserve. So this sale is running through September 15th. So go to the store today to find your perfect sleep upgrade before the offer ends. It's valid on select adjustable mattress sets at Coleman Furniture Market. So go to the store, see details on that. Or if you need other furniture, Labor Day sale going on, get it for a great price right now. Coleman Furniture Market. When you go, let them know Yaffee was the one who sent you. All right, Walker, what's number 5 today?
Number 5 today, on August 24th, Oreo will have 3 new flavors on the shelves, and you can vote which one is your favorite to be guaranteed a spot back on the shelves next year.
Okay. So
No.
what are the flavors?
There is deep fried.
Oh, interesting.
Yes.
You ever had deep fried Oreos?
I have. They're very good.
Would you like to know how to make it in an air fryer?
Yes, I would.
We did it once because a friend did it for us, and then we did. It was really good. You just get crescent rolls, and you put an Oreo in a crescent roll, put it in the air fryer,
Oh,
and it's really good.
that's.
It's very simple, and it's really good.
I've seen people also do that with donuts. And they'll,
Oh, okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
yeah. And sometimes they'll put cookie dough in the middle.
Okay, you're just making me hungry at this point. Just go on.
Okay, the next flavor is banana pudding.
Okay.
And the third and final flavor is chicken and waffles.
Does not really sound appetizing to me, but I bet people like it.
It really depends on how strong the chicken flavor is.
Yeah, it's got to be the right balance. It all depends on if they're doing it right. That's a good point, I would say.
If I had to guess which one is the best, I imagine it's going to be the deep fried.
Yeah.
Because I kind of worry about the banana pudding being too artificial.
Yeah, that's what I always worry about with banana flavored stuff.
Mhm.
I like bananas, but usually banana flavored stuff just doesn't, I don't know, doesn't taste right to me. I like traditional Oreos though.
I
Mega
like
stuffed.
regular Oreos too. Have you ever used the fork method to dip them
No.
in milk?
No, I have not.
Do you know what that is?
No, that's what I was going to ask. I was just about to ask. So you just stick a fork in it or what?
You stick a fork through the cream of the Oreo.
Oh, okay.
And then it holds the cookie parts together as you dip it in the milk, and you don't have to get your fingers dirty.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. I'll have to try that sometime. I'm not a huge milk drinker. So if I dip it in soda, would that be weird? Like a Coke? Probably. I know people are dipping their burgers in Coke. We talked about that.
Did they have Coke flavored Oreos at some point? I know that they
Actually, I think
had
they did.
They had the Oreo flavored Coke for sure.
I think they did have like a Coke flavor. I don't remember. It sounds familiar. Okay. Now I'm hungry again. All right. What's number 4?
Okay, so this is not going to make you hungry. People are sharing that their Ninja Creamies have started getting maggots lodged in the lid. And Ninja is saying that this is very likely to be a cleaning issue and not a product issue because the Ninja Creamy is meant to be fully disassembled and then cleaned. And I imagine a lot of people are only going to like wash the main parts as they are and not take
People
it
are
apart.
lazy
Yes.
about that stuff, including myself, by the way.
But the video that started it all, they are actually letting her send the unit back, and they're going to inspect it and see if that truly is the issue and not a design problem.
Gotcha. Okay, well, I'm glad they're checking that out, but they're probably right. People, they're not going to take the time to do that. Come on. All right. What's number 3?
Number 3 today, a man had hundreds of people show up after inviting strangers to eat an apple with him at a park.
Wait, say he invited strangers to eat an apple with him, and how many people showed up?
Hundreds.
Hundreds?
Yes.
It's a weird flash mob.
Oh, well,
guess.
I said, well,
Go ahead.
it says that hundreds of people showed up, but there were 6,500 people that said that they were
Oh.
interested.
Holy cow.
Yes.
Is there enough room for all those people where they were? I guess so.
I don't know.
What kind of apple was it? No, who cares?
I imagine everyone brings whatever apple they want.
Oh, they're not just sharing one apple, huh? Okay, man. You're just all going to share this one apple. That'd be great. Any other details about this?
One person said for the past 5 years, they've been taking selfies of eating an apple. And I guess people suggest doing it as a way to just socialize and take a minute with other people. Is just eat an apple together.
Okay. I mean, it's, they've had this issue now where like teens get together and then they start fighting each other. I don't know. I forget what it's called. It's like, it's a thing that's going on where like, yeah, teens will get together and then cause problems. So I'd rather them get together and eat apples. I think that would be much better.
Yes. I have no interest. Well, even as a teenager, I don't think I would have had any interest in going somewhere just to fight somebody.
Yeah, me neither. Me neither, but you never know with kids. All right, what's number 2?
Number 2, 2 new mobile apps, Roost Social and Carrier Pigeon, are letting users send messages at the speed of carrier pigeons, offering a slower, intentional communication style.
Well, how long does it take then?
So, the carrier pigeon only uses a pigeon's traveling speed, which is 110 miles per hour. And Roost offers various animals, which include a mallard, which is 51 miles per hour, or a turtle, which is 1 mile per hour.
So, wow, you can pick the animal too, whichever slowest animal it is.
Yes.
Would you use this?
I'm not sure, really.
I'm too impatient. I would not be able to do it. Mm-mm.
I don't have an expectation of people to respond to me immediately anyway. So I wouldn't have much reason to use it.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I guess that's a good point.
Yeah.
It's like even when you text out, they get it immediately. Do you care if they respond? I mean, I don't know.
Apparently it started as a joke that went on for 11 years and was launched on the Apple App Store on April 30th.
Okay. Interesting. So it's been around for a bit. Now it's just getting more and more popular.
Yes.
Okay. I mean, I could see some people wanting to use it. Like I said, I'm too impatient. No, I would not want to wait. No, thanks. All right. What's number 1?
Number 1 today, in Lithuania, 150 corgis gathered for the international race. And there's also a costume parade, the smartest nose and the loudest bark. And this started out in their first year. They had 40 corgis from one city.
You still got cookies on the brain because you're talking about Oreos. Yes, I get it. 40 corgis?
That was their first year. And this year is 150 from 9 countries.
Oh, my gosh.
And for the race...
It's a lot of barking.
Yes.
Sorry,
yeah.
it's a lot. This is a noisy event, I feel like.
Also a very cute event. I meant to send you pictures because for the costume contest, the one that got first place was a corgi dressed as a knight. And then there's also ones like a dinosaur suit, a sailor. The corgi that won first place in the race is an American corgi called Gigi, or Gustav the Girl Dog.
Gustav the Girl Dog.
Gustav
okay.
the Girl Dog.
I'm trying to remember what corgis look like. How do you spell corgi?
Corgi.
Oh, it is. Okay. Corgi. What do those look like? Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, they're like the ones with the little legs. And
yes.
Oh my God! Yeah, it would. You're right. Very cute event, but I have a feeling very noisy, very messy. Maybe 150 of them. That's a lot.
I like second place because his name is Mr. Corgington.
Oh dear God, it's so corny. But I can understand that. You know, you want your dog to have a corny name. All right, Walker, appreciate it. We're on the show with Yaffee, the Yaffee program Rewind in a moment here on WVNN.
It's the Yaffee program on WVNN.
Welcome back to the Yaffee program. We are here on News Talk 770 AM 92.5 FM WVNN. I am Alabama's voice of reason, as you know. Got to tell you real quick, though, about my good friends at the Huntsville Men's Clinic. They're the state's #1 rated men's clinic for ED, low testosterone, and male enhancement. They're celebrating their 5-year anniversary. They know exactly what they're doing. There's a reason why so many people have gone to them with these issues. Because easy to make an appointment. Go to HuntsvilleMen'sClinic.com. You can also give them a call, 256-368-0333. And they have a lot of new options available this year as well. It's easy to get your testosterone checked, guys. You might think there's nothing you can do when it comes to energy, motivation, drive, or issues in the bedroom. You think, oh, well, I'm just getting older. Nothing I can do. But no, there is something you can do. See the experts at the Huntsville Men's Clinic. They're not going to just push a bunch of pills either that you could get online. No, it's real treatments based on real science. 92% of men who have tried their treatments have seen results. So go to HuntsvilleMen'sClinic.com. HuntsvilleMen'sClinic.com. Change your life today for the better. Make your relationships better. Everything better. When you do, let them know Yaffee was the one who sent you. All right, let's end the show like we usually do. We have the Yaffee program Rewind. All right, there you go. It's that time of the show where I remind you, if you missed any of it live, well, the podcast will be up on the website, on the WVNN app as well, on any of your podcasting apps or anywhere you listen to podcasts. Go to WVNN.com to find out more information on that. So we started the show today talking about the latest news this week that this country, our country, has hit the threshold of $40 trillion in debt. And every time I bring up this topic, one, I'm frustrated because, I mean, it's just, we have made this problem worse. We knew this was an issue back when we were $30 trillion in debt, even before that. But instead of doing something about it, even back then, we doubled down, and now it's $40 trillion in debt. And the main point I made is that it affects your life. When you say something like $40 trillion, it seems abstract. You can't wrap your head around it. It doesn't seem like it affects you. It's just kind of out there. But it does affect you. There is a reason why we can't seem to get below 2% inflation. There is a reason why we can't seem to get above 3% economic growth. There is a reason why we can't spend what we want on the military. There's a reason why people think they're not going to be able to get Social Security like my generation. It's all right there. And when you look at $40 trillion in debt, it's also a big reminder just how giant our government has gotten. It's too big. And it's growing and expanding when it should be shrinking. So we talked about that at the beginning of the show. The podcast is up. We had the Alabama bullet points as well, the top stories from around the state. Data centers came up. Tuberville is defending data centers. Flock cameras came up, and John Walls going against him. So a lot of prominent Republican Alabama politicians are coming out against flock cameras, which I told you was going to happen. Even though I'm not for just taking them down, I am for adding more safeguards. I'm going to lose this argument, at least in the near future. And I think a lot of communities are going to start shutting them off. It seems like we are headed in that direction. So we had that in the bullet points. We also spoke with a member of the Trump administration about education and about school choice. So if you missed that interview, the podcast is up. I talked about the latest in Iran as well, where Trump has declared economic warfare against Iran. He said economic D-Day. against Iran is what he called it. In fact, go ahead and play Trump Cut 1 for me, Walker.
We have possession, complete control of the strait. I mean, outside of nuisance value, and there is nuisance value when they shoot a drone every once in a while. Over the last couple of weeks, we've had a lot of oil coming out, a lot of oil. It's not going to be perfect, but it's a lot of oil coming out. Look, it's very simple. They have to get rid of no nuclear weapons. Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. You know why? Because they'd use it, and we're not going to let them use it.
All right, and then you have retired General Jack Keane talking about the latest as well. I played this cut earlier. Play the Jack Keane cut for me.
In dealing with Iran from a military perspective, I think we're very much on top of our game. But we stopped it at 38 days. We had about 14 days to go. And we got a little seduced by them because, they were talking nice, reasonable.
Right.
But that's what they've done with other administrations as well. For the life of me, I don't understand why people thought this was new. This is old tactics on their part. Hardliners in control, negotiators reasonable, trying to get concessions out of us because they're working for the hardliners. That's kind of their pattern line. Yes, the Iranians are dead set on recovering here and rebuilding what they lost. And what they lose is going to be significant. And you know where I'm coming from. I think it's a combination of what Secretary Besson is doing, which is eye-watering work here, very good. The naval blockade, excellent, and military power, all of that coming together, and I believe we bring these guys to their knees once and for all.
All right, so we talked about that. The podcast is up. We also had the legendary Will Hampson on, the official D.C. insider of the show. He made the point that Republicans and Democrats don't seem to really care about the national debt. You have some that will talk about it, but none that are really willing to do what's necessary to handle the issue. So we discussed that, but also John Ossoff, who he believes is going to run for president. He's currently a senator in Georgia. He's running for re-election there. But he had a comment that went viral, a hit against Trump, which Will Hampson called a low blow. In fact, go ahead and play the John Ossoff cut for me.
And while the sailors on the Lincoln fight his war, while he fruitlessly drains our munitions and oil reserves, the president sleeps through his meetings. He golfs and trades stocks. See, he doesn't want to do the job. He wants to build his ballroom and travel with Natalie on their apparently defenseless flying palace gifted by the Emir of Qatar.
All right, so we talked about that. The podcast is up. We have What's Trending as well. If you missed any of the show, the podcast is up. Thanks to Walker for producing. Thanks to you for listening. I'll be back tomorrow at the same time for Friday edition of the show. See you then.
You're listening to Yaffee on WVNN.
The U.S. Soccer Podcast. I'm your host, Megan Klingenberg, and after interviewing so many dudes during this Men's World Cup, I'm so happy to be back with my U.S. Women's National Team players.
I know the U.S. Men's National Team has changed how I think about myself, how I think about being an American, how I think about being on a team.
It's 1 year out from that World Cup, and we're going to talk about the brightest prospects in U.S. soccer. You ready?
I'm ready. Let's do it.
The U.S. Soccer Podcast, presented by Henkel. Follow and listen on your favorite platform.